Well guys, here we are. This is my Yacon plant, and this is a 2-year-old plant that I've yet to dig up, and I've kind of excavated around the sides here. And I didn't use this or dig it up last year because I wasn't too keen on these. When I first bought them, I was under the impression that they had a mildly sweet taste, supposed to be reminiscent of apples and pears with a crisp texture. They certainly have a crisp texture, but these ones for me are very bland and are flavourless and not very sweet at all. So I didn't know what to do with them. I end up just leaving this one in the ground and let it do its thing. It is a perennial plant and will just come back every year. And if you leave it in the ground for more than 1 year, the tubers will get exponentially bigger, which they have on this. And you can see all the growing tips, which I'm going to salvage here. But what I've decided to do is make some syrup out of this. What you can do is take the tubers, juice them to extract all the water content off them, and then reduce it down like a stock, and you should be left with a thick, very sweet syrup. And I'm going to try that with these here. So I'm going to harvest these and then come back to you and show you what I have. And here's what we got off this one plant. I'm sure the video probably doesn't do it justice, but that's a lot. That's like, to give an example, here's one tuber off this. Now there's my hand, but this thing is the length of my arm. It's huge, and I've had a good few of them like that, so quite a big yield. Got some rotten ones. They're quite hard to take out of ground without breaking them because they're quite brittle, so I have to be careful, but that's a big yield. And not only that, there's more here, but most of these are growing tips. So you see all these bits here, I can take all of these off, stick them in a pot, and then sure enough you have a clone of that plant. And I have enough of these little growing tips to start a small farm, so a very good producer. So yeah, let's see how much juice we can extract off all of this. And so here's the next step. I have all my Yacon peeled and skilled. Actually, not all of them. This is only half the tub. So I have some in here that I've skinned and I've to wash. These are washed and they're going to go into this juicer here. I'll just press this down. And you can see plenty of juice coming out here. I think there's a very large amount of water content in Yacon, and you'd feel that when you actually cut them up, they're really just full of water. But anyway, I'll come back when this is done and I'll start to boil them down. So here we have the last of the juice from the juicer. And let's see, you can see better here. You have this green, very dark green stuff. We got a lot of froth in this one. I think that's mainly because of the type of juicer I'm using. And this is what it looks like coming out. Now, I have this pretty big pot here. I'm not sure how many liters this is, but it's near the top of this. And I haven't even used all of the Yacon that I got off of this plant. I'll show you that in the next clip, what I have left. So I have this pot full of Yacon juice. There is a hell of a lot of water in this. Unfortunately, and in hindsight, I think I should have done a smaller batch because it's going to take a long time to reduce all of this. I might have to leave it cooking overnight. Next step is to bring this to boil and then let it simmer. So I'll come back to you in a few minutes. And here we are, folks, almost a day and a half later. I actually had way too much Yacon juice in this, and it took so long to boil off. And so what I was doing is I did boil it initially and then I put it to a simmer, but because there's so much volume, I basically just had to turn up the gas on this and get the heat going again, and it looks like it's reduced right down. There is still some scum that I need to take off this. However, I did take off some of the scum and it's actually quite sweet. And I have tasted some of this already, so this is what it looks like here. You can see it's quite thin, but this is the syrup texture. If I leave this out, it will cool to a sticky molasses type texture. And let's give it a quick taste. That is quite sweet. Very sweet, just like molasses, although not quite the same taste. Kind of like an appley taste. But yeah, that's very nice, and I will be definitely growing more Yacon in the future, and I'll be definitely making some more Yacon syrup from this. And it's not a bad yield. I mean, I probably can't tell from this, and it's probably hard to see in the light because it's quite dark out now. It's late in the evening, but there's quite a lot in there. I would say possibly best part of a litre, maybe, which is pretty good. So there you go. That's Yacon syrup, purely experimental from my part. First time I've ever made it, and I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised. I didn't think it would be this sweet, but it is, and it's quite easy to make, you know. But I would say if you're doing a big batch like I did, now this is filled to about here, I would actually keep that on the boil for a bit longer, maybe take the heat down a bit, but just let it siphon off for a good while, because it will take a good long time to get down to this, or to reduce down to this syrupy texture. Alternatively, you can just do smaller batches, but like myself, if you're like me and you have a lot, it's just easier to cook them all in one go. Anyway, that's Yacon syrup, and I'll probably do some more videos on this, because I'll try and get my hands on some different varieties and do the same, see if there's any different tastes. Anyway, take it easy, guys. So here's the finished product. I managed to scrape all of it into this large mayonnaise jar. Don't ask me how many milliliters this is, because I don't know, but that's a lot. That'll take a long time to get through that. And just to show you the top, the scum that I didn't siphon off, this kind of congealed at the top, and it's kind of thick texture, but the rest of the texture here is your typical oozy, jammy, syrupy texture. And yeah, very nice, very sweet. I did have it on some pancakes this morning, and it was quite nice. It is a lot less sweet than your standard sugar substitutes like honey or rice syrup or barley malt syrup. It's kind of maybe around the sweetness of like rice syrup or barley malt syrup, but still not as sweet as those. So you could probably you could use it as a replacement for those, but you'd probably use a bit more than you would otherwise. Certainly nowhere near as sweet as honey, but still very nice. It does have this funny aftertaste, which is nice, kind of like this molassesy flavor, but with a slight almost Yacon flavor as well. It's kind of hard to describe unless you taste it yourself. But anyway, that's how I made my first batch of Yacon syrup, and that's how she's looking. And as far as I know, this can store for a long time. I think it's supposed to be very good for diabetics, because I don't think it raises your blood sugar as much as other sugar substitutes. But anyway, that's my my Yacon syrup. There you go.